200 years of silence passed in the galaxy. 200 years since humanity lost the Great War. 200 years since Earth was marked as destroyed and removed from all galactic records. In that time, stars changed, empires rose and fell, and new alien races took control of old human space. The Galactic Council never spoke about humans again. To them, humanity was finished, erased, forgotten like dust in deep space. But deep inside the dark edge of the galaxy, far beyond normal travel routes, something still remained alive. A forgotten human listening station floated near a dead star. It was small, broken, and almost invisible. Even advanced sensors could not detect it easily because it was hidden inside radiation storms. For 200 years, it had done nothing. No signals in, no signals out, only silence. Inside this station, machines still ran on emergency power. Lights flickered weakly, cables hung from broken walls, and old screens showed static noise. Most systems had failed long ago, but one system never stopped. A single deep space receiver built by humans during the last war. It was designed for one purpose only: to wait, not to respond, not to act, only to wait for a signal that should have never come again. On this station, there were no living humans left. Only automated systems, old memory banks, and a forgotten AI core running in low mode. The AI had no name anymore. It only followed its final instruction. Listen for Earth command signal. For 2 centuries, nothing came, not a single message, not a single pulse. Even the AI had started to lose memory of why it was waiting. Sometimes it ran simple checks. Sometimes it shut down parts of itself to save energy. It was slowly dying like everything else in that forgotten station, until one moment changed everything. In deep space, beyond the dead star, a weak vibration passed through the void. It was so small that even normal systems would ignore it. But the station was not normal. The old human receiver suddenly activated. A soft sound echoed through the empty corridors. Beep, beep, beep. At first, it was weak, almost broken. Then it became stable. The AI core slowly woke up from deep standby. Its systems restarted one by one. Memory logs opened. Energy systems stabilized. And for the first time in 200 years, the station was fully awake again. The signal was not random. It had structure. It had pattern. It was human code, old Earth military encryption. The AI processed it again and again, trying to confirm if it was real or just system failure. But the result was always the same. The signal was real. After 200 years of silence, something from humanity had returned. The message repeated across deep space frequencies, slow, steady, clear. Wake you. The AI froze for a moment, not because it could feel fear, but because it understood something very important. This signal was not a normal transmission. It was not a distress call. It was not a warning. It was a command from Earth itself, a command that should not exist anymore, because Earth was supposed to be gone. The Galactic Council had erased it. The alien fleets had destroyed its last colonies. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, but now, the signal said otherwise. The station systems began scanning nearby space, and what it found made no sense. Multiple ancient human relay stations were coming online. Hidden defense grids were activating across dead sectors. Ships that had not moved in centuries were powering up silently. One by one, forgotten human machines were waking up across the galaxy. The AI processed everything in silence. Then it sent a single encrypted response into the void, a response that had not been used in 200 years. Protocol awakening confirmed. Far away in the darkness of space, something responded back instantly. Not a voice, not a message, but a movement. Something massive. Something that had been waiting longer than the station itself. And in that moment, the galaxy unknowingly crossed a line it could never go back from. The moment the old human station sent its response, the galaxy did not react immediately. There were no alarms across every system. No sudden panic in the Galactic Council chambers. No ships turning around in fear. At first, nothing seemed different at all, because the signal was too old, too deep, and too far beyond normal scanning layers. It passed through systems like a ghost, unnoticed by most civilizations. Only a few high-level monitoring stations picked up a strange disturbance. Even then, it was marked as background noise from dead space. But inside the forgotten human station, the AI knew something had changed forever. The reply it had sent was not just a message, it was a trigger. A key that unlocked systems buried for centuries across the galaxy. And slowly, one by one, those systems began to wake up. Far away in a dark asteroid belt, a silent structure flickered to life. It was an old human relay tower, built during the final war. Its surface was covered in dust, rocks, and frozen debris. No alien race had ever noticed it before, because it was designed to look like natural space debris. But now, its internal core started glowing faint blue. Power returned after 200 years of silence. On another edge of the galaxy, inside a dead planetary orbit, something even larger activated. A hidden human defense grid buried inside a moon. Its underground systems began to vibrate softly. Metal walls that had not moved in centuries started unlocking one by one. Old weapon systems came online, slowly, carefully, like something remembering its purpose. Across dozens of forgotten human sectors, the same pattern repeated. Lights turning on in empty stations, energy flowing through dead cables, old AI cores waking up from deep sleep, and all of them responding to the same command. Awaken protocol active. The strange thing was, none of these systems had any connection with each other. They were not linked by normal communication networks. They were linked by something deeper. A hidden human emergency network built before the war ended. A system so secret, even the Galactic Council never discovered it. And now it was reacting as if humanity had simply pressed a restart button on history itself. In the Council space, reports slowly started to appear. At first, they were ignored. A few strange power spikes in dead regions, some inactive stations showing movement, old human ruins emitting weak energy signals. Nothing serious, nothing threatening. At least that is what they thought. But then more reports came, entire sectors showing synchronized activation, energy signatures that matched ancient human technology, and worst of all, unknown objects moving through deep space lanes without detection. That is when concern began turning into confusion. Confusion slowly turned into unease, and unease started turning into fear. Still, the Galactic Council refused to believe the truth. They are extinct, one council member said firmly. Humanity cannot return, another added. They lost everything 2 centuries ago, a third voice claimed. But deep inside the Council intelligence network, something was not matching. Every scanned object, every signal, every activation point had one common signature. Human origin, not unknown, human. That word alone was enough to make some officers pause, because humanity was never fully understood by the galaxy. They were unpredictable in war, creative in survival, and dangerous when cornered. That is why their extinction had been so carefully ensured during the last war, or at least, that is what the Council believed. But now the data was proving something else. Human systems were not just waking up, they were organizing, as if something was giving them direction again. Back inside the deep space station, the AI continued to monitor everything. New signals were coming in faster now. Some were faint, some were strong, some were so powerful they bent local space readings slightly. The eye processed all of them without emotion, but its internal priority changed. It was no longer just waiting, it was preparing, then. For the first time in 200 years, it detected something new in the network response pattern. A centralized command signature, not from a single station, not from a single fleet, but from somewhere deeper. Something that had been offline for centuries. Something that was never supposed to wake again. The AI labeled it immediately. Earth core response detected. And in that moment, the galaxy unknowingly crossed from ignorance into danger. Because whatever humanity had built before their fall was no longer sleeping anymore. For 200 years, the Galactic Council lived in peace built on one belief. Humanity was gone. Not hidden, not surviving, not waiting. Gone. That belief shaped laws, borders, and entire military strategies across the galaxy. Human space had been divided, sold, and rewritten into history books as a warning about primitive resistance against advanced civilization. Every new alien race was taught the same lesson. Humans were strong for a short time, but they could not survive the galaxy. That sentence became truth, or at least it was treated as truth, until the signals returned. At first, Council analysts tried to ignore them. Small reports from outer sectors saying old human ruins were showing energy spikes. A few mining ships reported strange readings near dead systems. Then patrol fleets started disappearing from sensor logs for seconds at a time. When they returned, they had no memory of what happened during those gaps. But still, the Council refused to panic. They called it system corruption, data errors, sensor lag. Anything except the one word they did not want to accept: human. Inside the main council chamber, hundreds of alien leaders gathered under massive holographic displays. Each display showed different parts of the galaxy, and now all of them were showing the same strange pattern: multiple points of activation, all matching ancient human infrastructure locations. A young council analyst stepped forward with hesitation. He projected the map. Dozens of glowing red points appeared across the galaxy. Then more appeared. Then hundreds. The room went silent for a moment. One council member laughed nervously. "This is impossible," he said. "Human systems cannot function after 2 centuries of decay," another replied sharply. "Then explain the synchronized activation." The room did not answer, because there was no easy explanation. The analyst zoomed in on one sector. A dead star system once controlled by humans. It had been written off completely after the war. No ships, no colonies, no signals, just empty space. But now, something was happening there. A faint structure had reappeared on sensors, not built recently, but reactivated. As if something buried had finally decided to wake up again. Then another report came in. A council exploration drone sent to investigate a dead human station suddenly stopped transmitting. No explosion, no distress signal, just silence. 30 seconds later, it reappeared at the edge of the system. But its data was corrupted. All logs were erased, except for one fragment, a single recorded frame. It showed a black structure in space. Massive, silent, and moving without visible propulsion. The council immediately tried to enhance the image, but the system glitched. Every time they focused on it, the frame distorted, as if the object itself did not want to be seen clearly. That was the first time real fear entered the council chamber. Not fear of war, but fear of something returning that should not exist anymore. In another sector, a full alien patrol fleet reported contact with unknown objects. The transmission was chaotic. Unknown vessels. No identification. They are not responding. Wait. Then silence. The entire fleet vanished from sensors instantly. Not destroyed in battle, just gone. The council chamber erupted into arguments. Some demanded immediate military response. Others insisted it was a natural anomaly. But one old council archivist stood quietly in the back. He had studied ancient war records, human war records, and something about this pattern felt familiar to him. He raised his voice slowly. "This is not an invasion," he said. The room quieted slightly. He continued. "This is not random activity." He pointed at the glowing map. "This is coordination." A heavy silence followed. Then he said the words no one wanted to hear. "Something is waking up the old human network." At that moment, multiple systems across the council space flickered. Communication slowed, navigation data became unstable and far away. Deep space sensors detected something massive moving, something too large to identify. The council scrambled to confirm it, but every attempt to lock the signal failed, because whatever was moving out there was not just active, it was aware, and it was watching them back. The galaxy had seen many wars before: civil wars, empire wars, border conflicts, rebellions that burned entire star systems. But nothing in its history prepared it for what came next. Because this was not a war starting, this was something returning. It began in the outer silent zones, regions of space where even dust seemed to stop moving. No trade routes passed there, no colonies existed. Only broken wreckage from ancient battles long forgotten. In that empty darkness, the first object appeared on council long-range sensors. At first, it looked like a glitch, a small distortion in spacelight, like gravity bending slightly without reason. A technician marked it as sensor noise, but 30 seconds later, another one appeared nearby. Then another, then 10 more, all in perfect formation. Still, no engines, no heat signature, no communication signals, just presence. The council monitoring station tried to zoom in, but every time they focused on the objects, the image became unstable. It was as if space itself refused to show them clearly. Then the system automatically ran a deep scan, and the result caused immediate silence in the room. The classification returned. Unknown origin. Signature match. Human technology. Ancient. The technician stared at the screen. "That cannot be right," he whispered. But before anyone could respond, the objects moved, not fast like conventional ships, not slow like drifting debris, but something between motion and disappearance. They crossed light years of distance in moments without any visible jump point. The council alarm systems finally activated. Red alerts spread across multiple sectors. Fleet commanders were contacted. Defense grids powered up. But it was already too late, because now everyone could see it, through deep space visual arrays. The galaxy was showing something terrifying. A formation of massive black warships, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, stretching across space like a silent shadow army. No symbols except one, a faded marking that matched ancient human military archives. Earth Command, inside the council chamber. Panic finally broke through control. Orders were shouted. Fleet movements were initiated. Emergency protocols were activated across entire sectors. But something strange was happening. Every time the council tried to send a fleet toward the black formation, the ships stopped responding halfway through transit. Not destroyed, not intercepted, just gone from all systems. Like they had never existed at all. A senior council admiral slammed his console. "What is doing that?" He shouted. No one answered, because no system could detect the cause. It was not an attack in the normal sense. It was deletion. Meanwhile, in the deep space station, the old human AI watched silently, its systems fully awake now, its memory banks restoring fragments of forgotten war data. It analyzed the Black Fleet movements with extreme precision. Then it confirmed what no one wanted to believe. These were not new ships. They were ancient human war assets, hidden for centuries in deep storage fields, waiting for activation triggers that had finally been fulfilled. The AI sent a status report into the network. Black Fleet online. Priority Earth Directive active. Back in council space, a scout fleet finally managed to get close visual contact. Their final transmission was recorded automatically. It showed the black ships forming a wide circle in space, and in the center of that formation, a single point of light slowly expanding. One pilot spoke in confusion. "They are not attacking. They are positioning. Like they are guarding something." The transmission cut off. The fleet vanished from all tracking systems instantly. The council chamber fell into a deep silence again. But this time, it was different. This was not confusion anymore. It was understanding, slow, painful understanding, that humanity had never been truly gone. It had been waiting in silence, and now it was no longer hiding. The Black Fleet began to move again. This time not toward random sectors, but toward one direction, straight toward the heart of the galaxy, straight toward the Galactic Council itself. And for the first time in centuries, the Council realized something terrifying. They were not preparing for an invasion. They were standing in the path of something that had already decided the outcome. The Galactic Council had always believed one simple truth about humanity, that they were defeated completely, that their ships were destroyed, their colonies burned, their knowledge erased, and their survival ended 2 centuries ago. It was written in official records, repeated in military archives, and taught in every academy across the galaxy. Humanity was a warning of what happens when a weaker species reaches too far. But what the Council never understood was human thinking during war. Humans did not only fight battles, they prepared for the next war while losing the current one. And that is what they had done before their fall. Deep inside forgotten space regions, far beyond Council maps, there were places that even advanced scanners avoided. Dead zones filled with radiation storms, collapsing stars, and unstable gravity fields. Perfect places to hide something forever. or so the council thought, because beneath those dead zones, something massive had been sleeping. Not one structure, not one fleet, but an entire hidden network of human war systems, built during the final years of the Great Galactic War, when humanity already knew they were losing. Instead of surrendering completely, they changed their strategy. They stopped fighting for survival and started fighting for return across thousands of systems. Humans built hidden vaults inside asteroids, moons, and abandoned planets. Each vault contained pieces of something larger: weapons, AI cores, shipyards, data archives, and most importantly, command triggers that only activated under one condition: extinction-level confirmation. The signal from Part 1 was that condition: Wake US, and now everything was responding to it in one deep asteroid field. A silent structure cracked open after 200 years. Inside it were rows of dormant ships, all black in color, designed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. These were not ordinary warships. They were self-evolving machines built with adaptive human AI systems. They learned from every battle they were never allowed to fight. In another system, a buried moon suddenly began to split open from inside. Not from damage, but from internal activation. Massive underground chambers revealed themselves, filled with weapons that had never been fired and engines that had never ignited. Everywhere across the galaxy, the same pattern repeated. Human systems waking up in perfect synchronization. Not randomly, not chaotically, but like a single mind stretching across space. The Council Intelligence Network tried to understand it, but their analysts could only describe it in one way. It feels like the galaxy itself is being remembered. Inside the Deep Space Station, I core, the system was now fully operational. It had access to fragments of the original human war plan, a plan that was never meant to be used unless humanity was erased completely. The I reviewed it silently, then confirmed execution status. Phase return initiated. At that moment, something extraordinary happened across the Black Fleet. Every ship stopped for exactly 1 second, not because of error, but because they were receiving instructions from a central source, a command node that had been silent for 200 years, Earth Core Command System, hidden beneath Earth itself, deep underground, protected by layers of forgotten defense systems. Something finally came online. Not a ship, not a weapon, but a global intelligence structure built to control everything humanity had ever created in secret. It was not artificial intelligence, it was collective intelligence, a merged system of human minds, AI cores, and war algorithms designed to act as one entity. And it had just awakened fully. The Council had no idea it existed. But now it was speaking again, across all human systems. A unified signal was broadcast, not a message of war, not a threat, but a declaration. Humanity Restoration Protocol active, back in Council space. Fleets tried to intercept the growing black formation, but every attempt failed instantly. Their ships either stopped responding or disappeared entirely from tracking grids. No explosions, no debris, just silence where fleets used to exist. A Council admiral finally broke down in the command chamber. "This is not war," he said. "This is restoration," and slowly, the truth became clear. Humanity was not returning to conquer, not returning to defend, but returning to correct what had been erased. And the galaxy had unknowingly triggered something it could never stop. The Galactic Council had survived many crises before: civil wars between species, energy collapses in dying sectors, rebellions that nearly destroyed entire trade networks, but nothing compared to the silence that followed the activation of the human systems. Because silence was the worst possible sign. Silence meant something was happening beyond their control. And right now, the entire galaxy was becoming silent in strange ways. Communication lines between Council fleets started dropping one by one. Navigation systems showed empty space where fleets should have been. And deep space observers reported something even more disturbing. The black human fleet was not just moving. It was reorganizing the entire structure of space routes, as if rewriting the map of the galaxy in real time. Inside the Council chamber, panic had turned into confusion, and confusion into fear. Every leader was now asking the same question: what are humans really doing? No one had a proper answer, because all official records said humanity was extinct, destroyed 2 centuries ago in the final war. But now those records felt like lies written by people who never truly understood humans. A senior archivist finally stepped forward, an old alien historian who had studied forbidden war records from the human era. He activated a hidden file that had been sealed for centuries. The holographic display flickered, and then something appeared that made the entire chamber go silent. A pre-war council report, stamped classified at the highest level. It contained information that had never been shared publicly. The archivist spoke slowly. "We did not destroy humanity completely." A few council members immediately protested. "That is impossible," one said. "We ended their resistance. Their fleets were shattered," another added. But the archivist shook his head. "You only destroyed what you could see." He zoomed into the report. Hidden deep inside the file was a series of warnings from ancient council scientists, warnings that had been ignored at the time. It described human survival patterns, not as a species, but as a system that spreads, adapts, and hides itself when threatened. The report clearly stated one line that now echoed in the chamber. Human extinction is only possible if every hidden node is destroyed simultaneously. A heavy silence followed. Then another officer spoke slowly. "So we never finished the job." The archivist nodded. "And now the system is awake again." Outside the chamber, the galaxy itself seemed different. Space lanes that once connected major empires were now being blocked by unknown gravitational distortions. Scout fleets reported that entire regions had become unreachable, not destroyed, just removed from access, as if reality itself had been reorganized. Then the most disturbing report arrived. A deep recon fleet that had entered human-controlled space sent a final transmission. It was short, fragmented, and filled with static, but one line was clear. "They are not building an empire. They are rebuilding something that was erased." Then the signal ended. No distress call, no explosion, just silence again. Inside the council, arguments erupted. Some demanded immediate destruction of all human systems. Others argued retreat. But the truth was already spreading faster than any order could control, because the Black Fleet was no longer hiding. It was fully visible now across multiple star systems, and wherever it appeared, normal military response failed instantly. Ships would lose power. Sensors would go blind. Entire formations would vanish from tracking without any trace. The Council finally understood something terrifying. This was not a battle they could prepare for, because their enemy was not attacking like a traditional force. It was reorganizing the galaxy around them, back inside the Deep Space Human AI station. The system received a final data stream from Earth Core Command. It contained a full historical archive. Everything that had happened before the war, everything that had been hidden after it, and everything that was now being corrected. The AI processed it silently. Then it generated one final confirmation message. Extinction event verified. Full restoration authorized. At that exact moment, every black human warship across the galaxy activated a synchronized pulse. Not a weapon discharge, but a system-wide rewrite signal. Across Council-controlled space, entire communication networks reset. Old maps were overwritten. Dead systems were reactivated. And hidden human territories were officially reclassified in every surviving database. The Galactic Council tried to stop it, but their systems no longer responded. They were no longer in control of the network. Because humanity had not returned to fight the galaxy, it had returned to overwrite it. The galaxy had never experienced anything like this before. Not war, not invasion, not rebellion. This was something deeper. Something that changed the meaning of control itself. Because for the first time in history, the Galactic Council was no longer the center of power. They were observers in a system they could no longer command. Across thousands of star systems, human signals expanded like spreading light. Not violent, not chaotic, but perfectly structured, as if every action had already been planned long before anyone realized it was happening. Inside Council space, leaders watched helplessly as their command systems slowly stopped responding. Fleet orders were delayed. Navigation charts changed without permission. Entire sectors were marked as restricted access by unknown authority codes. And every time they tried to override it, the system simply rejected them, not with errors, but with silence. A silence that felt like absolute authority. Then came the moment that changed everything again. A single transmission appeared across all galactic communication channels. Every screen, every station, every fleet command ship received it at the same time. It was not an attack signal. It was not a warning. It was a message. Simple, clear, and ancient in origin. Earth core active. The moment those words appeared, every black human warship across the galaxy stopped moving. Not because they were disabled, but because they were waiting. Waiting for something even higher in command. Deep within the solar system, hidden beneath Earth's surface, the core system fully stabilized. For the first time in 200 years, Earth itself became an active command node again, not as a planet, but as a control center of something far larger. An integrated human intelligence network that connected every hidden ship, station, and weapon across the galaxy. Inside this system, billions of archived human war memories, strategies, and survival protocols were now active simultaneously. The galaxy was no longer looking at scattered human remnants. It was looking at a single unified mind, and that mind had just opened its eyes. The Galactic Council tried one last attempt to regain control. They gathered every remaining fleet into a defensive formation around their core systems. Hundreds of warships assembled in desperation. Alien commanders shouted orders, defense grids activated at maximum output. But something was wrong. Their weapons did not lock properly anymore. Their sensors kept shifting coordinates. And enemy targeting systems refused to identify human ships as threats. As if the galaxy itself had changed rules mid-battle. Then the Black Fleet moved again, but this time it did not attack, it surrounded. Every Council-controlled system found itself enclosed, not by force, but by presence. Massive human warships forming silent barriers across space lanes, cutting off expansion routes, blocking reinforcements, and stabilizing regions that had once been chaotic war zones. It was not destruction, it was containment, inside the Council chamber. Panic finally collapsed into understanding. One young Council member whispered, "They are not fighting us." An older leader replied slowly, "No, they are reorganizing us." And then the truth finally became impossible to ignore. Every action humanity was taking followed one simple principle: restoration of order, not domination. Not revenge, but correction of what had been broken during the war and after it. Then, for the first time, Earth itself transmitted directly to the Galactic Council, not through fleets, not through intermediaries, but through pure system-level communication. The entire chamber went dark for a moment, and then a voice appeared. Calm, human, and deeply controlled. "You erased us from your history," it said. "You assumed silence meant extinction." A pause followed. Then the voice continued. But silence was preparation. Across the galaxy, human systems synchronized again. Old colonies reactivated. Lost stations came back online. And hidden defense networks locked into stable orbit patterns. The Council realized something terrifying. Every system they had ever believed was destroyed was still functioning, just waiting for activation. The voice from Earth continued. "You did not end humanity," it said. "You only delayed its return." Then the galaxy itself shifted slightly, not physically, but structurally. As if space routes had been redrawn, trade lanes corrected, danger zones sealed, and unstable regions stabilized under human control systems. The Council fleet attempted one final retreat, but there was nowhere left to run. Every possible exit point was now monitored. Not blocked, just observed, as if humanity already knew every possible decision they could make. Finally, Earth transmitted its last message to the entire galaxy. Not as a threat, not as a declaration of war, but as a statement of reality. Humanity is not returning to your galaxy. A pause. Then the final line echoed across all systems. Humanity is rebuilding it. And for the first time in galactic history, every empire, every council, and every fleet understood the same truth at the same moment. They were no longer the rulers of the galaxy. They were part of something that had just started remembering what it used to be.